we're so far into Shan State that we actually came upon this major east-west thoroughfare, an actual paved road. To come upon a paved road in Burma is something to get excited about, because the roads here are probably the worst roads of any country I've ever been to in my life. There's a pretty major east-west road right here. You're probably hearing the explosions there. There's a battle going on between the Burmese army and the rebel forces, I'm going to call them, because there are many different factions of the rebel forces that are now working together. And it's becoming quite a battle. That's why we're here. I'm at a casualty collection point just about a mile from where the fighting is taking place. Just barely, maybe a mile and a quarter. That the smoke back there behind me, you can see the smoke. That is from the mortars that you're hearing going off. And so the reason I'm here is that Free Burma Rangers came up to provide casualty care, medical care, to those who are injured in the fighting. What we did, rather than stay right down there where we could be more likely to get hurt, we established a casualty collection point just a little ways back from the fighting. That's what we typically do. And then there's a couple of vehicles down there, some of our medics down there closer to the fighting, and the rest of us back here where we can bring casualties, treat them, get them stabilized before they have to be moved. Because sorry, I have to listen if I hear a motor. That's a motorcycle. That's a soldier on a motorcycle. When you hear a motor out here, you always stop and listen, because if it's a helicopter or an airplane, you have to take cover. The Burma Army has been bombing, strafing, and hitting the KNDF with artillery as well all day since this thing started. So we've already treated a couple of casualties. So far, it might sound like really heavy fighting down there, but all it is just bombing back and forth at this point. There has been some small arms. One of the casualties we treated had a bullet wound through and through his shoulder. Fortunately for him, didn't hit anything. I called it a movie star wound because, in the action movies, that's where the action star always gets shot and then he goes on to fight all day long with that hole in his shoulder. It's actually pretty serious. It could mess up his ability to use his arm. It could hurt his nerves, whatever. But we've got some very good medics here. As I was saying, though, it is from where I'm sitting, it's about a 2-day drive to the nearest hospital that these guys can go to get care. And so we have to stabilize them here well enough that they can make that journey. And it's not an easy journey. It's not on a paved road. It's up and down mountains on 4x4 tracks, very dusty, very dirty. It's very difficult hard on the vehicles as well. And, that's just kind of what these guys are facing out here. Now, we went down to in the U.S. Army, we would have called it the TOC, the Tactical Operations Center, which is where the rest of our medics and everybody is, right up closer to the front line, just a few minutes ago. And it was amazing to see how they are fighting back. I mean, you've got the Burma Army has fighter jets, attack helicopters, they've got heavy artillery and things like that. And yet they are losing to a much smaller force who gets most of their weapons by capturing them from the Burma Army. So when I was here the first time, like 15 years ago, these guys had like weapons from Vietnam era that were held together with baling twine, shotguns mostly, some homemade weapons, bows and arrows, things like that. You'll still see guys carrying slingshots. I'm not kidding. And now they're much better outfitted, but that has come from capturing weapons from the enemy. When we went to the talk, we saw mortars. They had a couple of mortar tubes down there, 60 millimeter mortars, which are about that big around and stand about this tall. And they are man portable easily, so you can carry them in a backpack or whatever. They just had them in a sack, like a potato sack. They put a strap around their forehead and off they go with it. The rounds are maybe about 10 pounds each. They can use those for short range conflict. They also had a very large homemade quadcopter, homemade drone, and it can pick up about 6 kilograms of explosive in 2 3D printed plastic housings.
Yeah, don't drop it.
Don't drop it. So they look like a mortar round, but it's got fins on the back that, not like any mortar, a different kind of fin on the back, and it's got a hook on the back. And those things go into an actuator on that drone, 2 of them, 3 kilograms each. And they fly that drone over the battlefield, find the bad guys, find the enemy positions, and hit an actuator, and it opens the little thing that grabs the round and drops it. Woo! We just heard that just a minute ago. And the guys down there that I was talking to said that yesterday they killed 20 Burmese troops with that drone. Those homemade, it's a homemade drone, homemade munitions, 3D printed, a lot of it. Really amazing what they're doing out here. And they are making progress. What you're hearing out there is the Burmese military being pushed back. They're losing ground, and they are taking a lot more casualties, apparently, than the rebels are on our side here. We are very, very deep in Shan State at this point. We're so deep that I just knocked my camera over. We're so far into